Hi. ApexWar comes in two different formats. There's a 2D tile version and a 3D model version. Now, obviously, the 3D model version looks nice and much more dramatic than the tile version, but the 3D version is also more expensive and and on a much bigger scale with a bigger board than the tile version. I'm demonstrating here on the board for the 3D version, but the tile version will come with a much smaller board, so it will be a much smaller set, but nothing taken away from it. Um, the tile version is what the video game application is most likely going to look like. I'll zoom into the tile and explain a bit more. Now, in the tile version, you can see the character piece. That's the aircraft carrier. That's the name, the aircraft carrier, AC carrier. That's the and then there's a notation for what force that piece is affiliated to. So the N stands for Navy / the rank. The aircraft carrier is an admiral, and then there's a flag there to let you know that the aircraft carrier is a flag bearer. This in this section at the top left shows you, it's like a quick guide to how that piece moves, so you don't have to, especially if you're just learning the game, you don't have to make a lot of references to the rule book. And then there's a number here that tells you how many points the piece is. So the aircraft carrier is a maximum, well, is a 9-point piece, which is one of the most valuable pieces. And then this section here at the top left, at the top right corner of the tile, shows you what parts of the board the aircraft carrier can influence and what parts it can't. There's a total of 20 different square black boxes, but well, 18 black boxes. There's 2 of them with white dots in the middle. Now these white dots, the 2 with the white dots in the middle represent the area where the aircraft carrier can operate, and it just clearly, you know, the dots are configured in such a way that it translates to the dimensions of the, well, to the configuration of the board. So you've got this section, well, you've got these boxes with white dots in them representing the ocean, and then to the west is one superpower, and to the east is the other superpower. And then if you've got the army, it will have the 2 boxes on the west side of the ocean. Well, you have all the boxes the army will be able to operate with white dots in them, and the ones it couldn't operate, like in the sea, well, like in the ocean, totally blacked out. So that's just trying to highlight the differences between 2 formats. And then something else I'd like to show is how nuclear strikes are played out. So I've just set up something briefly here where in the next move for grey, their nuclear missile will impact at this point. So this piece goes off and the nuclear missile gets taken off. But then remember that nuclear missiles are the only pieces that can take out a total of 5 pieces in one strike, basically. So the piece that was there was taken off, and nuclear missiles take out pieces in this configuration. The piece where impact, or the piece at the impact point is taken off, and then every piece diagonally next to it is taken off as well. So they all go. And then every piece in the square, either vertical or horizontal next to it, becomes irradiated with radiation. So you place radiation tiles. And what that means is basically those pieces will not be able to be moved for a turn. They've not been destroyed, but they've been rendered inactive for at least a turn. And then cruise missiles are capable, just to demonstrate this again, I'll set this up this way. Cruise missiles are capable of taking out 3 pieces in one strike. So if this cruise missile here struck this piece, it would take this piece out and also take out a piece vertically forward and horizontally forward from the piece it struck. So that's a brief demonstration of the nuclear missiles and cruise missiles, the tiles, well, the tile formats, and also I'd like to talk a bit about multi-game play. Now, you can play in teams. You can play as individuals, 1 against 1, or in teams, 2 against 2, 3 against 3, up to about 8 against 8. You can play 1 against 8. You can play 1 against 4, 1 against, or 2 against 8, or 4 against 8. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you could say, okay, if you you could say, okay, so let's take this team. You could say, if you were playing in a team of 8 people, you could say, okay, one person controls that navy. He's the admiral for that navy. Another person is the admiral for this navy. One person is the general for that army. The 4th person is the general for this army. The 5th person is the commander for the Northern Hemisphere Air Force. A 6th person is the commander for the Air Force in the South. And then a 7th person maybe commands the Marines, and an 8th person commands, well, plays as the president and commands the Secret Service, the satellites, and the nuclear defense forces with the Patriot missiles. You could even play up to 9. You split the Marines into 2 commands. So you could play as many as 9 people on one side and as few as 1 person on the other side. Basically, yeah, that's like a dictator versus democracy format. You know, 1 person is the dictator, and then a team of 9 is the democracy. But you know, those numbers are not limited. You can play, you know, 4 people where, you know, 4 people on one team where 1 person commands the 2 navies, 1 person commands the 2 armies, you know, like chief of army staff. 1 person commands the 2 air forces. 1 person commands the president, the Marines, and the nuclear defense force and satellites. And also, in an earlier demonstration, I did mention that your satellites and radar are very important because they control your forces, your forces in group. Like you've got a navy satellite for controlling the 2 navies, an army satellite for controlling the 2 armies, and an Air Force satellite for controlling the two air forces. So it's a very versatile game. It's simple. It's really simple, but yeah, there's a lot to it. A lot of should I say protocols to understand that give it the structure.